English news report.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to the East-West show that is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. A prominent life must be matched with the palace-grade jewelries. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family-designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman, a testimony to the spectacular share of the royal glory. Wolfers, the palace-grade artistic jewelries. That starts our show. So today joining me is my good friend, Mr. Gang Chen of Irvine. And if you recall many shows, especially last year, 2018, you must have seen him lots of times because he was the former candidate for city council. Such a beautiful city, I believe it deserved to have some councils really, city councils really wins the people's trust. Speaking of people, though, there are lots of Asian Americans in their population. And I believe the proportion is going up and up and up. So that's why we want to find out what's going on there. That's why lots of my friends kind of asked how Irvine is doing now, right? Especially recently, when there's the news about the special election, quote unquote, about Irvine, we would like to find out from Mr. Gang Chen about how you guys did, right? So, welcome to the show.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad to see you again, Jack.
All right. And I'm happy to see you again. And by the way, I would like to say that I will stick with you until you win.
Thank you so much.
I like your style. I like your humble, to the point, the detailed, precision kind of style, right? So that has something to do with your architect background, right? Very good. Okay, now, what is about the quote unquote special election? What had happened?
So what happens is in 2018, we elected Donald Wagner again as the mayor of Irvine City. Mm-hmm. And also we elected two city council, Farrah Khan and Anthony Cole. And at the beginning of this year, Donald Wagner also started to run for the Board of Supervisors in Orange County. And he won. Mm-hmm. So as a result, he has to resign from the position of mayor. And Deputy Mayor Christina Shea has filling the position as mayor. Mm-hmm. And then we have a vacancy for the city council. Based on our city's code, there are two ways to fill the city council seat.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah, one is between April the 3rd to May the 3rd. If the voters can gather enough signature, they can qualify for a special election.
Signature for what?
To hold a special election. So you need to petition to hold a special election.
I see. Mm-hmm.
So basically, I think it's 10% of the registered voters' signature. Mm-hmm. So unfortunately, there's no signature turned in to the city clerk.
So within the 1 month period, there's not enough signatures collected.
Yes.
All right.
And then the second option is just for the city council, the three remaining city council and the mayor, Christina Shea, to call for application for the position of city council, and then they will interview, and then they will pick the right candidate for city council.
In other words, there are two ways of doing it.
Yes.
Right? To call it for a special election, you have to have enough signatures collected
of the registered voters.
In
city
to
of
decide that you go ahead with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there is money involved.
Yes.
Right. If you do that, though, how much of money that you would have to put up to?
It would have cost the city of Irvine $903,000. that's close to $1 million.
That's almost $1 million.
Yeah,
right?
then we are having a deficit in the city right now. So
I
we have,
see.
I think, $3 million deficit last year, and then another $3 million
I
for
see.
the last budget. So we actually had deficit. So we really do not want to spend that close to $1 million for a special election. And the term is really short. It's 1.5 years.
Plus you do not have enough signatures
Yes.
to go ahead and do that, right?
Yes.
So anyway, so the second option would be that the city councils sit together, going through a screening process.
Yes. Actually,
Right.
they have an open procedure to call for anybody who can submit application for the position.
I see. Anybody of the residents
Yeah, registered
of,
voters.
registered voter of
the city of Irvine.
Irvine City
Yes.
to volunteer, saying, I would like to be a candidate.
Yes.
Something like
Actually,
that.
there are, I think, 31 people apply. That's a
Oh,
lot of
31
people.
applications.
Yeah, 31 people. That's a lot of people who want to serve the city.
How many went to the final?
They picked 12 people to do the public interview. Actually, the interview was done in City Hall. And I was lucky enough to be selected as one of the
You were one of the 12.
one of the 12 to be
Very good.
interviewed. Yes.
Very good. You made it one step
Yeah.
closer, right?
Yes, yes.
One of the 12.
Yes.
And they gave everybody a fair chance of.
Yes, I think so. They give everybody a 15 minutes time. You can have up to 5 minutes to talk about your platform, your ideas, or how to help the city. If you has been elected of city council, they will. What's your idea of how to improve the city? And after that, each of the city council and mayor, they will ask you 1 or 2 questions. So you
I
have
see.
total 15 minutes.
I see.
Yes.
So each of the 12 has 15 minutes of a
Yes.
fair chance to make a statement,
Yeah.
to include your vision,
Yes.
your plan,
Yes.
and your whatever
Yes.
of doing your job once you're elected,
Yes.
right? And after that, 15 by 12, that's 4 hours. That's 3 hours.
15 by 50. Yes.
Yeah, that's 3
That-
hours. That's a long.
They started from, I think, 12:05. Actually, they do a lottery draw to pick the order. I picked the first one to pick the order, and then I picked to be the number one to be interviewed.
Oh, you were the number one.
And then I think the last one is like 3 or 4 in the almost 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But I have to leave early to pick up my youngest daughter.
I see.
Yeah.
And then after that, they question you.
And then after that they pick another 3 or 4 to do a vote. After you talk about your platform, so they ask you questions. The mayor would rotate the questions in different order. Also, each city council can have a chance to ask the candidate
I know,
questions.
but how do they decide which or who be the remaining 3 or 4s out of 12?
I think it's based on your response and based on the recommendation of the city council, and then they would discuss among themselves. They pick like 3 or 4, and then they will vote for.
They pick amongst themselves
Yes,
through discussion about who to remain
Yes.
as the final,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Are there any objections about that? I mean, the audience. You have an audience in the city hall, right?
Yeah.
So?
When I was there, the people are pretty quiet. I think most overall people are all show their interest and show their appreciation for the people who actually want to serve.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Another word is quite well arranged.
Yes.
All right. And then after the processing of selection or screening, how many went to the final?
I think 3 or 4. Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
Is it 3 or is it 4?
I'm not sure because I left already. I have to leave early.
I
asked
see,
the
I see.
city clerk.
You were not chosen anyway.
Yeah.
You were not chosen anyway, so you left.
Yeah. And then the final winner got 3 votes. Basically, right now there's 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats.
I see.
Yeah, and then the final candidate, I think, is an independent. So now the city, Mike Carroll has been
You
selected.
keep mentioning about Republican and Democrat. So is the partisanship that serious at the local election?
It has been very bad in the past. It's always like you have a Republican slate and Democrat slate. It has become better after the 2018 election because the new city council and the new team come in. Actually, I think it's better than before. In the past 10 years, it has been very, very bad. It's very confrontational. Yeah, but I think it has been.
I don't think it's healthy going that way.
Yeah.
I recall once had a nice conversation with Mayor Stephen Shem of Alhambra. I asked him, to you, what is local politics? He says, well, local politics is only just the traffic of my traffic in front of my house, a tree that blocking my sunshine, or something like that. Those are local politics.
You are right. The local city council election is supposed to be non-partisan.
Of course.
But unfortunately, in reality, in the past 10 years, it's become very partisan in the city of Irvine. That's one of the things that
Well, anyway, that's the only thing I found out that, well, not supposed to be that way. And I wish them they can handle it in a more amicable way rather than conflicts between parties, right? Today with me is my good friend, Mr. Gang Chen, former candidate for city council of the city of Irvine, a beautiful city that deserves somebody like Mr. Gang Chen to be on the city council. All right, let's take a very short moment out. We come back to continue from where we just left.
Everything expected. Great. It's like seeing Broadway.
My name is Paul James. I host the news.
And a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, dear folks, lovely audiences, my dear brothers and sisters. Fellow Californians, welcome back to the show. Jack Zhao hosting the East-West show. That is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of the master craftsman that stands for a testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. That brings us back to the show. With me today is my friend Gang Chen from Irvine, former candidate for city council of city of Irvine. Welcome again to the show.
I'm glad to be back.
Very good. Well, I find that the last election very interesting. It's a special kind of election that you handpick. The city council, remaining councils handpick the city council to be filled in, right? So you mentioned that they ask questions to the candidates, right?
Yes.
3 or 4 remained. What questions did they ask?
They ask a lot of questions, basically cover almost every aspect of the city of Irvine. For example, they ask like affordable housing. What's your view on affordable housing, and how do you handle the traffic in city of Irvine? My response is the city of Irvine has been great because it was a master plan community. Actually, it's one of the largest master plan community in the United States and probably in the world. In the early 1960s, there's an architect whose name is William Pereira. He worked with urban company and come up with the master plan for the city. And the city was incorporated in 1971. Basically, William Pereira has a very good master plan, and we developed our city based on his master plan. That's why the city of Irvine has been very successful. Unfortunately, in the past 10 years, we kind of deviate from the master plan. For example, there's an important concept in the original master plan. It's called village concept. Basically, they have William has come up with the idea about 1 mile radius as a community.
I see.
Basically, you have a self-contained community. You have shopping mall, you have your grocery store, and
everything
within 1 mile
within
distance.
range. There's 1 mile.
So basically, you
1
can
mile radiation.
You limit a lot of the traffic between the local. Like you have an elementary school within the 1 mile distance. People can walk to school or bike to school. You avoid a lot of traffic. If you look at the city of Irvine traffic, the worst time is in the morning, and also when the school is finished. You see a long line, hundreds and hundreds of cars there. Every one of the elementary school, middle school, high school.
Uh-huh.
So in the past 10 years, the planning has kind of deviated from the original plan. For example, in the Portal Spring area, if you want to buy a bottle of milk, you have to drive on the main street of the Sand Canyon or one of those huge streets to get to grocery store to buy a bottle of milk. In the old plan, it's like you don't have to drive on the main street, you just drive on the local small street to go to a grocery store to do your shopping. That way your traffic does not even go into the main arterial street of the city. It would not contribute to the congestion of the city of Irvine. So my idea of fixing this problem is, let's go back to basic, restore the village concept. That way we digest a lot of school traffic or grocery shopping traffic in the local area.
To maintain the original master plan.
Yes, the idea, the concept.
To protect the village concept.
Yes, and second is in the UCI area, we can develop some mixed-use, multi-story or high-rise building around UCI. For example, students, they don't need to have a car. All they need is to buy grocery and to eat, and then they have a dormitory, they can sleep, they can go to school. So for this kind of mixed-use building, you can, the first floor, you could build up some grocery store. Second floor, you can have restaurants and so on. You have done a lot of this kind of mixed-use building successfully done in Asia. So that way you can reduce the traffic. You don't have to have so many cars on the street. Students, they can just have a self-contained unit. They do their shopping on the first floor, take the elevator down, and then they eat in the second floor, and then they go to school.
So you're talking about reducing several thousand cars.
Yes.
Altogether, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. What else?
And I think that's one of the main ideas that I have. One is the misuse, the other is go back to the village concept to reduce the traffic.
I see.
And the other thing we can do is maybe kind of offset the school starting time. Instead of all the school start at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, that way you reduce the traffic. If it's just offset by 1 hour or half an hour, it could make a big difference. If you go to any of the schools,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Most of the time, the rush hour is the half hour or 1 hour when the school is starting at 8 o'clock. You see a long line of cars, a few hundred cars at every one of the school. Yes.
In other words, you kind of postpone it for 1 hour.
Yeah, or half an hour.
Or half an hour.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Very good.
Yeah.
That's a good concept. Are you being supported by lots of folks?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people. Actually, some of the city council has been elected has similar idea about the 1 mile distance of all the service.
Do you think your concept represents the mainstream?
Yes.
Or you go against the mainstream?
I think it's a mainstream concept. Yeah. And basically, city of Irvine is so great because we have developed based on a plan. And the key is, in the past 10 years, the development has been too fast. All the infrastructure has not been able to catch up with the development. So we basically need to go back and rebuild the infrastructure and also look at the master plan to plan it more properly.
Yes, the matching aspect.
Yes, we cannot stop the growth because I see two extreme views in this one. One is it's called development moratorium. Basically, they want to stop all the development. The other is just keep developing. So basically, we need to continue to develop, but we need to control our growth in a more responsible manner.
You're right. You're right. And then, what is the part that you think that caused you not to be selected? Which was the part that you failed?
I think I could do better by talking to each of the city council individually before the selection process so that they know me better. So basically, one of the concerns is that if you are a Republican city council, you don't want to vote for the Democrat because you could be attacked by your own party. If a Democrat city council, you don't want to vote for a Republican candidate, and then you could be attacked by your own party. So they end up, I think it's a compromise, they end up voting for independent. So basically right now city council has 2 Republican, 2 Democrat, and 1 independent. I think it's good. I think I applaud them for come up with the solution. At least avoided that close $1 million extra spending we might have to use for the special election if we do a special election.
Well, anyway, it is good that you guys dealt with a situation that would have cost you $1 million extra,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And what is so hilarious is that you guys still talking about partisanship, right? You're talking about the division between the parties.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And the party line, I believe, at the federal, the state, whatsoever, let them do their fight. To the local level, to a small city, as small as Irvine, as Monterey Park, as Rosemead, as Elmont, right? I don't think you.
You should pay more attention to how to improve the everyday life of everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah, in the end, we are all neighbors.
Like Stephen Sham said, the traffic in front of my house, right?
Yes.
And the tree that's blocking my sun,
Yeah.
something like that
Yeah,
kind of.
yeah.
Those are the local politics.
Yes.
Right. So anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting. I will recommend this as a kind of like a way to save lots of fight.
Yes.
To save lots of fight, going through, save lots of procedure to get to the point right away.
Yes.
With save lots of money, right?
Yes.
All right, good. My dear friends, today with me is my good friend Chen Gang. Mr. Chen Gang has been active as a former candidate. He's been active sharing his thoughts in improving the city of Irvine.
Yes.
I believe that his efforts has been being paid off. I would say have been being paid off, not exactly paid off, started to have to be paid off, that kind of thing, that people started to know him. I keep encouraging him to continue running is because that we as the Chinese Americans, new in the country though, we need recognition, right? We need people to get along with the rest of the folks, make them understand who we are, what we think of, especially when there comes to a certain issue, you really want to make sure that you understand your take of the issue, right? For example, I believe the majority of your residents, though, do they really appreciate the large town, municipality, or metropolitan kind of life,
I think
rather than a village kind of life?
I think they still like the current village concept. There's a strong sentiment kind of trying to avoid the huge development among a vast majority of the voters in city of Irvine.
I'm not saying that we should go against the huge development. I'm always talking about the methodology of matching. Of matching. In my hometown, back in Chinatown, I see the same problem. They have probably as many cars as we have now in a small city. But the parking, well, they have never thought about it. So people end up parking on the walkways in front of your doors.
Oh my God.
In front of your, not driveway, in front of your walkway. You have to go zigzagging, well, amongst the parked cars. So that's a problem. Developing is good, and all of a sudden, like my hometown, a poor town, lots of overnight, started to get rich, to have so many cars. That's good. But the thing is that we need to, right?
It's a lack of planning.
Such as eating.
Yeah.
You need a restaurant, of course. Do you need restrooms?
Of course.
All right, good. Anyway, okay, my friends. With Gang Chen, we're sharing some bottom line concept, right? Let's take a short moment out. We come back to continue right away. There are other issues that I care about. At least there are two issues. Number one, the cemetery issue, right? And number two, the homeless issue. Shall we talk about it when we come back?
Yes.
All right, very good. So we'll be right back.
Everything is
we have
expected.
continued
great.
to work
It's
on
like
it
the
now.
scene John Wayne.
My name is Paul James. I host English news every morning.
and a Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow on the East West Show that is exclusively sponsored by Wolfers, a testimony to the spectacular, a share of the royal glory. With me today is my good friend Chen Gang. Mr. Chen Gang has been a former candidate for city of Irvine. Even though he didn't make it, he did a good job representing himself, exposing himself. Well, we Chinese Americans, right, in this country, it is our country. It is our adopted countries. So, in order to make us as the council member of such a city, though, you have to be adopted by them, by your citizen. It is another adoption there, right? So doing that, you have to make yourself understood. Exactly, right? Speaking of understanding, though, there is always a line that you have to go back and forth called crossing, right? So there is an issue that I have been following for quite a bit, which is the cemetery issue. So I believe that you haven't resolved yet, have you?
No, we have not.
You have not,
So-
right? Okay. Give us a little bit about the
Yeah,
background
let me
of
go
the issue,
back
please.
to talk about 2 points before we
Sure.
answer your question. Well, first of all, democracy is a great procedure. Once you start to participate in the process, even though you may not be elected, but some of your concerns, some of your ideas might contribute to the process. Whoever has been elected, they will adopt some of the ideas to
Exactly.
improve the city.
Exposure.
So you actually, just by participate, you actually contribute to the whole process
Yeah.
to help to improve the
I
city.
agree, yeah.
That's why after I ran for the mayor in 2016 and ran for city council in 2018, I have a lot of respect for whoever actually put themselves out, expose themselves to be scrutinized by the public. So I have a lot of respect for any of the candidates, no matter Democrat, Republican, or Independent.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Second of all, is that I talk about the mindset change for our Chinese Americans. The older generation, maybe 100 years back, some of the was sold to here as a gulay or whatever, the hard labors. That mindset, a lot of that mindset is that, okay, we made the money, we go back to China because the US dollar is good, we buy a lot of land to build homes, and then we go back to China. So some of them may not treat United States as their home, but our generation is different. We treat America as our home. This is our home. We are not going to go back to China.
Of course.
So we are going to root here. So we actually treat ourselves as Americans, just like any other Americans, like Italian Americans, Canadian Americans, South Central America Americans. We are all Americans. This is our home. So we basically, after we make it ourselves to feed ourselves, have our homes, we actually want to contribute back to the community. To help to improve the community,
Yes,
to give back to the community.
A payback.
That's
yes.
our new generation's mindset.
Yes.
In Chinese, instead of I can say in Chinese, the old generation is like 落叶归根, means when the leaf falls, they go back to the root. That means they go back to China, bring their money back to China.
Go back to China.
But our generation is 落地生根. Once we fall down to the ground, we rooted here. So this is our home. So we treat America as our home. That's why we put everything we have back to the community. We wholeheartedly love this country.
You're right.
And talking back in the cemetery issue, I know it's a very heated subject, and there's very strong opinion on both sides. It's a very hot button that a lot of people get excited. First of all, I would like to say everybody is entitled to their opinions. We need to be able to show our difference.
It is a veteran cemetery, right?
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
Right. Since when did this whole thing start?
Yeah, I can go. I'm going to talk about it in detail.
Okay.
So basically, my point is we need to be able to show our difference, but we need to also show respect to each other, even though we have different opinions.
Good.
So this started in 2014 in one of the old mayor, Larry Agron. He kind of originally in the Great Park, it was a veterans memorial. it's just a monument. And then he decided to put a cemetery in one of the area of near the Great Park. Okay, it's the area called Arda site, ARDA. It used to be the El Toro airport, and it has runway, has like 2 or 3 feet deep concrete, a lot of poisonous gas or oil, chemicals in the area had to be cleaned up.
Contamination, yeah.
Contamination, and also there's 70 plus structures that was built in the 1940s and 1950s, has lead-based paint, has asbestos. All this hazardous material has to be handled specially. So the cost is close to $90 million before they can actually start to build a cemetery. So it's a very expensive site. And I first of all, let me say the veterans, they die for us to protect the country. They could pick anywhere in the world. They could even put their cemetery next to the White House. They could do whatever they want because they are entitled to it. They pay for this with their life. So
They deserve a
good cemetery.
Good piece of land to rest.
I
yes.
100% agree with it. But on the other hand, I'm a licensed architect. For every time you do a project, you always want to kind of communicate with the people nearby. We don't want to have the state of California to mandate something to the local community. You want to hear the feedback of people right next to it. So we need to consider all different factors. The veterans, they die for us. They also want to help us to have a great city, to beautiful city, right? They want to make the city better. That's why they pay with their life. They don't want to be people viewed as some kind of mandate outside force. So that's the point. So I think right now there are 3 sites. One is the original Arda site. It's 125 acre. There's another one. It's at 91 and 241. It's a state. It's the site that was donated to the county by Urban Company. It's a free site. I think it's 250 or 280 acre. It's bigger site. And that one does not have the chemicals and so on. So it's a good location. It's still closer than the cemetery in Riverside. Because one of the argument of the veterans, they don't want to drive so far to the Riverside. But if you from Irvine drive to 91 and 241, it's not such a long drive. And the third location is, I believe originally there was a golf course in the Great Park. They want to kind of use a big portion of the golf course as a cemetery. So that's one of the 3 locations we have to decide. It has not been finalized yet. I know there's a proposal in the state try to redesignate the other side as a veteran cemetery. It has not been finalized yet.
Let me share you with my take. Just correct me if I'm wrong. If we conflict, we can even argue.
Yes.
Right? I mean, to me, this whole thing, the whole subject matter, doesn't have that much of a conflict in itself at all. Because after all, you're looking for a piece of land to have those wonderful heroes who once lived for this country to rest in peace.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. Of course, you're right. Once again, if you can ask them for agreement, though, well, I would say 100% they will say, well, anywhere. Just put me anywhere you think feasible, something like that. That's probably the answer you will get. Right? What has caused the difference between such the location selections that cause a lot of argument? I have heard that the Chinese Americans of your beautiful city hold 1/4, and the originate people of your city hold the other. So tell me about the difference, please.
I would not say it's Chinese American versus whatever the original people. It's not the proper way to generalize it. I would say there's some concern of the people live near the other side. I know there's people that are not Chinese Americans. They are very vocal about this cemetery issue. Like, for example, one of the lady I know is from, I think it's Iran. She has a very strong opinion about that. Basically, her point is this cemetery is so close to the school and so close to the homes. And you have the 21 gun salute when you have the funeral.
okay.
It could be a huge distraction to the student that are in school. They don't know if it's a terrorist attack or if it's a gun salute. So, and another major thing is the cost issue. Let's go back. We have a $3 million deficit last year, another $3 million the year before. We have a huge deficit. This is going to be $90 million before any first travel can start to do the cemetery. They have to clean up the site. They have to clear the concrete. They have to treat the chemicals. It's a brownfield site. Basically, it has a lot of chemicals, a lot of poisonous materials at that location. It's a cost issue. Who is going to pay for it? Is the state going to pay for it, or Irvine going to pay for it? Who is going to pay for it? Because originally in 2014, Larry Agran, he had made a very strong, good point, is that this cemetery will not cost the city of Irvine a dime. That's what he says. Okay? Now, where is the money going to come from? Is the state going to pay for it? Originally, I think last year, there was a land swap proposal, unfortunately, was defeated. At that location, that we have a strawberry site that does not cost the city a dime. The cemetery would have been built in 1 or 2 years.
Okay, I understand.
You remember, but that's water over the bridge. That's over now. So.
It's been 4 years already, the issue, right?
Yes.
At least. So as an outsider, I would say, all I can say is that, why don't you guys do a little calculation yourself, find the safest way and the cheapest way to do so?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I think we should also do a survey or kind of polling to see the street side, other side, the golf side, golf course side, and also the 200 plus acre at 241 and 91. See which one get more support, and then we treat different opinion with respect.
Okay, let's say, which is the one? Let's number it. Let's number it. Let's say 1, 2, 3. Location 1, 2, or 3, right? Which is the one that too close to school?
And it's called ARDA. Number one is
Number
ARDA.
one.
ARDA.
Okay,
ARDA.
number 1 close to school. And what is the one that costs a lot of money, too much money, to clear the contamination?
It's number 1 also.
No. Let's number it. Between you and I, right? That's number 2. Let's make them number 2.
The one, a lot of people against it also cost a lot of money. It's the same site. Both of them is number 1. Site number 1.
You didn't get me. I'm talking about you and I for discussion. We name the location. We give them a number.
Yes.
Well, let's give the number close to school, number 1.
Okay.
Right? And let's give the number of the abandoned airbase, number 2.
Okay.
And let's give the third location, number 3.
Okay.
I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
Do you follow me?
You're trying to number the site, right?
Yeah, try the number site.
But the number 1 and 2 is the same site. The one closer to school, the one costs a lot of money. The one with the
I'm
chemical
not
is
talking
the
about
same
size. Same location? Are they the same location?
The same location.
Same location. Okay,
Yes.
now
Okay.
the same location, which is the air base, and that is also close to school.
Yes, and also that's the one with a lot of chemicals.
With lots of chemicals.
Yes.
And lots of money.
Yes.
So number 1.
Yes.
Right. And then number 2, which
the
which
golf course.
Golf course, and there's some kind of a sacrifice. You cut it off a little bit, right?
Yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay. Now, what is the third one?
The third one is the one at 91 and 241. It's 200 plus acre. It's larger, also almost double the size.
All right. What's the advantage and the disadvantage?
The advantage is there's no argument of close to school or close to homes, and it will not cost $90 million to clean up, and it's still closer than the one at the riverside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what is the argument? So, what is the obstacles when you're not taking number 3?
Some people, they want to, they like the other side, which is the number 1 side, because they think but actually it's not in the original El Toro Air Base. They say because they say the button, they fly out from the air base.
I mean, why would people not accept the number 3?
You just have to ask those people. I have no idea why.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
So we have no.
I think there's politics in it, because some people just want to use this issue to gain vote. You know, they kind of mobilize.
Okay. Anyway.
Use the emotion.
All right,
of the
my
veterans.
dear friends. It looks like I know why he is avoiding answering my question. So, well, let's take a break. We will be right back, please.
Everything
We have to continue to work on it now. My name is Paul James. I host this news report.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the show. With me is my friend, Mr. Gang Chen, former candidate for City of Irvine. Here we're talking about the city. We're talking about my concern of some major issues.
Yes.
Hoping to get some answers. One of the issues is the cemetery issue. We are there right now. And just now I raised the question, if we name the locations, one, which is the one of the air base, also two close to school, also too costly to do, and the other is a golf course next to a golf course, which means some kind of sacrifice. Well, you have to give a partial of it, and then the third one, which has nothing disadvantage. Well, however, people do not agree. I asked him why people do not agree. He avoided answering, and then I get the message, and I stop answering, right? I stop asking questions because the answer is there already. It's already there. It is already there, right? So without asking, of course, if I were you, I would do number 3.
Yes.
Right? As how everybody else doesn't like number 3, well, I don't know. Like you say, I don't know, like that kind of thing, right? Anyway, so let's move on, shall we?
Okay.
All right, good. All right, yes. The last issue that I care about Irvine is the homeless, right? It is such a beautiful issue. It cannot afford any kind of a defamation to even the name of the city. And on the other hand, those homeless guys, they are our own siblings. They are human beings. They need care, right? How did you handle the problem? Because if you push it back about a year and a half, the winter before last, right? There was a big talk about the Santa Ana River Trail and the homeless and stuff. And what is the problem now? Is it gone?
I think it's still, there are different cities, mayors are still trying to come up with a final solution. My take on this is, first of all, we need to fully utilize the existing shelters that we already have. Because from my research and talk to a lot of people that are concerned about the subject, a number of the homeless, it's not they don't have a shelter, because they do not want to stay in the shelter. If they stay in the shelter, they have to get up at a certain time, they cannot do drugs, they have to follow a lot of rules. Some of people, they are drug addicts, they just don't want to stay in the shelter, that way they can go out on their own and they can do drugs. If that's why when you see they clear the homeless shelter around the Santa Ana River bank, they found thousands and thousands of needles there. Those are the needles that left over from the drug use. So there's a lot of danger. Last year, there's a huge protest in the city of Irvine because they're trying to build a temporary shelter in the Great Park. The Board of Supervisors was come up with these suggestions. Immediately have hundreds and hundreds of people protest. They actually rescinded their decision. I think within 2 weeks. And this is the first time they rescinded the decision. They never proposed it again.
Last time, I did my research and I came up with some numbers. And I shared those numbers with some folks on my show. I shared the number with Mr. Joe Gardner of West Covina and Mr. Chris Shaheen of Pasadena, right? If you ask them on the survey, when asked, is it true that you do not want to get into the shelter, you just enjoy the nomadic kind of a life? The answer was that 93 of them, they say, we want it. We want it. Well, they wouldn't take us. And you ask them why you end up in the first place, homeless. They say, we were not able to pay the rent. The rent is skyrocketing. So have you heard that kind of thing?
I have heard both sides of the arguments. Yeah.
All right. So remember last the November election, there was a proposition, number 10, I guess, number 10. Should the county government or government get involved with the rent control? Remember that? And we failed to give it a pass. So the county government, right, does not have the right to control rent. Landlords can do everything they want, right? Somebody right now raising the rent by 20%. They say, well, it's my freedom. When you call the county in doing my investigation, I call the county says, well, we can't do. Unless there are, because 2 years ago, 2018, County of Los Angeles made a special vote amongst themselves to name only 12 little areas within Los Angeles County to go under, they call the rent stabilization program, to stabilize the rent, by which they allow only 3% per year of rent increase. All the rest of the other cities, well, they are out of control. So that is the effort, one more effort, pushing more folks towards the homeless, right? So do you think that's another, I know you're an architect, right? You want to build, right? So have us ever thought that we are making the homeless ourselves?
Let me respond to this question. On rent control, I actually have done a lot of research. I have been a renter myself. I also have been a landlord. I have been on both sides of the aisle. So I actually, at one point, I owned 8 properties. Once I rent it out, I have never increased the rent until the lease is up.
Oh yeah, you're
Okay.
one of the few.
Okay.
Yeah. You're one of the very
And
few. Yeah.
I am, for one reason or another, I'm actually renting right now myself as a renter. I'm renting a 1-bedroom apartment in Irvine. It was $2,060 for 1 bedroom. It's very expensive. I have a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house. I rent it out for $3,300 because I don't want to share with another. But this year, the lease is coming up in a few days. Actually, I'm moving to reduce my rent because I'm going to share with another family that I 2-bedroom, which is $2,300, and then I can almost cut my rent in half. I can come up with a solution. So basically, I rent it out my own property for others. I'm renting myself. So I understand how the high rent has created some problems.
Yes.
So
Yes.
but to limit the rent actually is not the solution. It could make it's a good intent, but we actually could have made the problem worse. If you look at the city in California, Santa Monica has rent control, but Santa Monica has the worst housing problem in Southern California. I got a job in Santa Monica in 1994. That's 25 years ago. So I was trying to look for an apartment. Everything in Santa Monica is very expensive. 1 bedroom at that time
Yeah. You go ahead.
and why is it so expensive? Because the rent is controlled, right? So if you moving a 1 bedroom is $500 and all the other city is like $1,000, what you're going to do? You're not going to move. So
You're
all
right,
the people,
you're right.
even they change job, they change the job to 2 or 3 hours.
If we want to talk about the rent problems, though, we want to eliminate cities like Santa Monica, Redondo Beach, because tourism has a big hike in it, right? tourism has a big part, the whole thing.
How about San Francisco?
Right? Okay, now San Francisco too, right? Let's talk about average cities. Let's talk about Monterey Park, Alhambra, San Gabriel, Rosemead, El Monte. Well, that area, those areas, right, which is not a tourist site.
If you do a survey to economists in the world, 99% of the economy would say rent control is the wrong way to handle the housing crisis. Because the housing is just like anything else. The price is determined by supply and demand. The reason why the housing price going up because there's a lot of people want to get housing, but there's very limited supply. How do you do it? If you want to do a rent control, it's like communists, you know. You basically you are. Let me finish, and then you can talk. You can do a rebuttal.
Go ahead.
So, what happens is when you do rent control, whoever live in the low price housing, they would not want to move. You will not increase the supply. And whoever is spending money to build it, they have no incentive to build because they're not going to make any money. So just like if you have no rent control, if there's a huge profit in the housing, everybody will start to build housing. And then all of a sudden you have a huge supply, the price will fall automatically. So you need to follow the rules of the economy.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. And I want to make myself clear that when we do discussion, we are not shifting ground.
No.
The ground for this discussion is that the rent increase is a factor pushing more out of the way to homeless, right? As to how to read it from an economics point of view, though, that's the other cup of tea, right? That's not the ground of today's discussion. We're talking about with the homeless problem, we're not helping, we're only adding up.
Yes.
Because politically, we allow the landowners to be greedy, to be out of control.
Let's go back to the question we discussed, which is the homeless crisis in Orange County. The voter actually has passed some kind of proposal, has created $200 million to handle this crisis. The Board of Supervisors has $200 million in their hand they have not properly used. And all of a sudden they want to push the problem to city of Irvine. That's why we have a big problem.
Sure. That's why we say that homeless issue is a very complicated issue.
Yes.
It's all kinds of issue combined,
Yes.
right? If we're smart enough, we'd better find them one by one. We want to resolve them one by one.
Yes.
And this homeless issue is a long issue. If you read Du Fu, right, of Tang Dynasty, you will know the issue starting back then. Right? Okay, anyway, that concludes. We're a little over time, but we enjoyed the discussion. Thank you, my dear friends, for watching. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here. And
All
you can check out more of my views at my website, GangChenUSA.com. GANGCHENUSA.com.
And we thank Wolfers for sponsoring this show. Wolfers, the Belgian royal family designated brand of jewelries with 400 years of glorious history and hand-forged by 10 generations of master craftsmen, a testimony to the spectacular and the share of the royal glory. So we'll see you next time.